Hello, everyone. We're about to watch The Return of. So, we have had several hearings where we see someone again for the second time. What I'm going to do is replay the end of the first hearing, which took place on March 16th of 2023, a little less than 2 months ago. If you recognize this man, Mr. Brown. He was the man who was kicked out of Steve Hoyle program because he wasn't taking his his heart medicine, um, and they ended up giving him another chance. All he has to do is complete Steve Hoyle, and he would have been released instead of having his parole revoked. But first, let's jump back just to the end of the hearing. If you've already seen it, you can, of course, skip through. I'll leave a timestamp. If you haven't seen it, I do recommend watching the full hearing. I found it to be quite intriguing. He was initially arrested for an armed robbery, given parole, and then he had it revoked for stalking. But with that, let's first jump into the end of the last hearing. With that, let's go.
Rules panel fair to vote, Mr. Marabella.
You know, I've listened to you, Mr. Brown, and I understand what you're saying, and it's unfortunate that a lot of things have gone bad. But you know, we have to keep our eye on the ball and why you're in prison to begin with. You were on parole supervision.
Yes.
And you were required to honor the law. You violated the law by violating protective orders that this lady had against you. You ultimately pled guilty, and look, I've been in the criminal justice system for 50 years. I was a judge for 16, 17 years. I was a defense lawyer. I know all about plea bargains. People rarely plead to something they didn't do. It's normally dropped down. And clearly you got a pretty good deal. And I think the reason they came back and let you withdraw your plea is because the system screwed up, agreed. The monitor who was supposed to come out and put an ankle bracelet on you, they didn't do what they were supposed to do. And then you come before this board and you're told that you need to do Steve Hoyle, because of what you did. Not because of the fact that COVID hit and the fact that they didn't do what they were supposed to do. You needed DBOP because you had committed a crime. And there are consequences to committing crimes. And the consequence was to you to get treatment in a program, the DBOP program. You were in that program. You chose to exercise your right not to take your medication. And you have that right. But you know, with exercising rights comes consequences. You chose, well, I'm not going to take my medication. Well, when you chose not to take your medication, you violated a rule about being into the program. And you got kicked out. That's what we're here about. This isn't about, and I'm sorry that the system took so long to get you where you are. But if I vote to put you back on the street without getting you the proper treatment to make sure you don't go back out there and stalk this lady again and understand why it's so significant, then I wouldn't be doing my job. My vote today, in lieu of revocation, is for you to complete the Steve Hoyle program. Now, I don't know if you can get back in and just do the next month. You might have to do the whole thing. I didn't get you kicked out. You got yourself kicked out by exercising your right not to take your medication. And that is your right, but there are consequences with exercising that right. Part of the problem you were having was your defiance. I see that today. You want to do things your way. You're on parole for armed robbery. There's certain rights you don't have anymore because you're on supervision. So it's your choice. You can go into that program and you can finish that program, otherwise you'll be revoked.
All right, Mr. Freeman.
I concur totally with Mr. Marabella.
All right, 2 votes in lieu of revocation, complete the Steve Hall program. Again, DBOP, anger management, the Steve Hall program. So you know where you are. You follow the rules, complete the program, and you'll be released. But 3 votes to vote in lieu of revocation program. You understand? You understand what your vote is?
Yes, sir.
All right. Good luck to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We'll adjourn at 9:23 at Bossier.
Place on March 16th of 2023. Today of this recording, it's May 12th. They had this hearing on May 11th, so I'm only doing it a day late. It's interesting saying hi to myself. Hello, my 2-month past future self. It's so we're gonna fast forward now to the future where he has a chance. Did he complete Steve Hoyle program like they asked him to do? Before, he was only about 2 or 3 weeks from completing it. He was kicked out because he didn't take his meds. They said, look, man, you can get revoked and have to do your full sentence for armed robbery. I'm not sure how much time it is, but and so here we're going to go. We're going to see. Now, I did comment on it, but let's see what you think. Do you think that he is about to get paroled, or if he's going to get revoked? And with that, let's jump in.
Okay. Good morning. The Committee on Parole is called to order. Time is 8:10 a.m. We will be in revocations prior to 8:30, and we will not start regular paroles until after we complete revocations or after 8:30. The Committee on Parole is seated at EOC headquarters in Baton Rouge. With the staff at headquarters, please introduce yourself. And I don't think I mentioned the date. Today is May 11th, 2023, and time now is 8:11. Our first remote location is Bossier Medium for a revocation hearing. With the staff at Bossier, please introduce yourself.
Sergeant Todd Roberts, security.
Jason Burns, coordinator of the Steve Hoyle program.
Thank you, staff. Mr. Brown, would you please give us your full name and your Department of Corrections ID?
Ernest Brown, 1027. Ernest Brown Jr., 102751.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. What is your DOC number?
102751.
This is DOC number.
No, 275. What's at the top? Very top.
What is this? That's what it says. And 2715. Okay, Mr. Brown, you're here this morning for a reconsideration of a revocation hearing that you had on March 16th, 2023, where in lieu of revocation, the panel voted 2 2-1 to send you to the Steve Hall Substance Abuse Program and the Steve Hall Domestic Violence Program. After completing that, you would have been released. But in the process of attending those classes, you were disruptive and you received 3 Class B disciplinary write-ups. For that reason, you were removed from both programs, and therefore you're here today for us to reconsider our decision. There's no revocation questionnaire because that part of the procedure was covered in your first revocation hearing on March 16th, 2023. So at this time, do you have an attorney or do you want an attorney present for this reconsideration?
Well, I don't have an attorney present, and I don't think I need an attorney at this time, considering.
Mr. Brown, do you want to proceed without the attorney?
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to read the charges. Parole board is conducting a reconsideration of your revocation hearing as you have been accused of violating the conditions of your the board ordered treatment program at the Steve Hall program for domestic abuse and for substance abuse. Condition number 13 is a special condition that was given to you by the parole board on March 16, 2023. In lieu of revocation, the board ordered you to complete a substance abuse and a domestic violence program. You failed to comply with the orders of the board in that you were suspended from classes due to a rule violation number 5, Class B, disobedience, rule number 3, Class B write-up, defiance, and rule number 28, Class B write-up, a work offense. How do you plead? You have the option of pleading guilty, guilty with a statement, not guilty, not guilty with a statement.
Mr. Roche, Laura Roche, when I was, sir,
Roche was correct.
Roche, Mr. Roche, when they brought me this incident report, I was given a.
Sir, how do you plead? Guilty, guilty with a statement, and not guilty, not guilty with a statement. Let me have you plead.
Oh, I had pleaded guilty with a statement due to the options presented to me. The option presented to me was if I plead guilty, I'll be able to finish my classes. If I don't plead guilty, they will put me in ISO for 30 days and I can't complete my classes.
Okay. Sir, how do you plead to the charges this morning that I've given you? You're not pleading guilty?
Oh no, I wouldn't plead guilty to this here because my actions didn't lead to none of these rule violations are not considered what my actions are not considered what these rule violations state in the report.
I have to have a plea. How do you plead?
I would plead not guilty.
Okay, right, okay. Now, That you want to plead not guilty with a statement?
Yes, sir.
Okay, give me your statement, sir.
Okay, on this date, I was in a victim awareness class. I was talking to Mr. Murphy about why they have me in substance abuse class when I was ordered to complete domestic violence. I said, Mr. Murphy, as you know, and I've never did drugs or alcohol in my life. I can't tell you how beer tastes. He told me that my treatment plan was left up to them. I said, no, before y'all remove me from the classes, I only took domestic violence class. The parole board recommended I complete domestic violence class, which I would remove me 2 weeks before I was graduating. He told me they left your treatment plan up to us. So I said, well, if I need to get a lawyer to call up here.
Mr. Brown, let me stop you there. Let me stop you. I'm going to read the decision. I'm going to read the decision that was made on March 16th of this year. 1 second, sir. Forward. Mr. Anthony Marabella needs to complete the substance abuse training. Brennan Kelsey needs to complete the domestic violence program. You are ordered in lieu of revocation to complete both programs in substance abuse and domestic violence.
Mr. Roche,
That was the order of the board, sir.
Mr. Roche, I've never did a substance abuse in my life. When I initially come here, I only took domestic violence in November, from November to February. They decided to put me in substance abuse after I was ordered to complete domestic violence claim. I didn't take substance.
Brown, I'm not going to argue with you. That was the order of the board for you.
Okay.
To both.
Okay. Well, what was the order before I?
All right, 2 votes in lieu of revocation, complete the Steve Hall program. Again, DBOP, anger management, the Steve Hall program. So you know where you are. You follow the rules, complete the program, and you'll be released. But 3 votes to vote in lieu of revocation.
Before I got you. The order before I come here was complete domestic violence. From November to February, I came November the 7th. Up until they removed me from the program, I only took domestic violence class. I was kicked out of class 2 weeks before I would graduate due to me not taking my medication. Now the rule book says inmates.
Mr. Brown, let me speak, and I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Jackson. She's been assigned this case. I want to ask you 2 questions.
Yes, sir.
In this situation, who is the offender?
Me.
And who's responsible for giving and deciding who takes what programs?
Rephrase that question for me, please.
Who decides who takes what programs?
My parole officer decided I take domestic violence.
This board, the 3-member panel, Mr. Anthony Marabella, Mr. Pete Freeman, and Mr. Brennan Kelsey decided at your revocation hearing in March that you are to take both programs. You are the offender, and you are to follow those instructions.
With no disrespect, Mr. Rhodes, I had my family get the audio transcript from my last hearing, and they purchased it. And when my auntie listened to it, and my auntie is very intelligent and have superb comprehension skills, she retired from Southern University. She told me, I listened to this audio transcript, Ernest. They say complete the domestic violence program. Now that was what told with me. I'm not saying what was how it was interpreted to them.
Okay. Now, Mr. Brown, we're not gonna discuss this any longer. Ms. Jackson, would you like to answer the question?
Yeah.
Would you please answer Mrs. Jackson's questions?
Yes, sir.
All right. Mr. Brown, I hear what you're saying. I do. However, was it wise of you to, create a problem for yourself that you didn't need to have? I mean, really, at the end of the day, would it have hurt you to finish the program that they asked you to finish?
Ms. Jackson.
At the end of the day, would it have hurt you to do that?
Ms. Jackson, no disrespect, and I understand what you're saying, but why create a trail for having a problem that, for needing remedy of a problem that I don't have? And I feel stereotyped, being incarcerated, being Black, and being incarcerated, that everybody is affiliated with drugs and alcohol.
You're incarcerated because let's be real. You are incarcerated because of your criminal conduct. That's why you're incarcerated. And the reason that domestic violence classes were ordered is because you were allegedly committed acts. So you're not here because of a stereotype, you're here because of your conduct. When you chose the choices that you've chosen to make about your adult life. That's why you're here. Now, again, nobody's going to go back and look at your records from Steve Paul and say, oh, he's a drug offender. That wouldn't have even been an issue. But you just got this defiant personality. The reason that you were up for revocation was because you had violated the conditions of probation or parole that you were originally given. And yet you have this defiant attitude that you want to know what's best, you know what's right, you want to do what you want to do, and you're not going to comply, which is why you got detained for a parole revocation. Because you don't want to do what people do.
It's not defiant attitude, it's standing up for what's right. And that's not my attitude at being defined, because if you get my prison record, you'll see why I have over 100 certificates. And most of those certificates are teacher or facilitator. So I command the presence of a classroom due to my environment with having.
Well, if you were a teacher, then you were a teacher, then you know how productive it is to have somebody in the program that's pushing back. You're not in charge here. You absolutely, you got it all wrong. You have no control over this situation.
Right.
You're in charge and you don't have the final say. You don't make the decision, and your demeanor and your attitude help things. It does not help things.
I'm not trying to come off as disrespectful, Ms. Jackson. I speak with. I speak with.
But you sure managed to do it.
I'm not trying to come off as disrespectful. That's not where I'm at. I just speak with confidence. You know what I'm saying? And I'm very articulate. And I have a commanding presence and get my point across. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to go. Please don't think I'm coming off as that.
Let me ask you this. What is getting your point across accomplish for you? Other than getting you back in front of this board for a recension of your, in lieu of red, what did that get you? You know, sometimes it's better to keep one's mouth shut.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Some-
ma'am.
Some juice is not worth the squeeze, okay? Okay. So this is not worth the squeeze,
Exactly.
okay?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Yes,
Can we hear from, the manager of Steve Hall program?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any input?
You know, all I would say is that, you know, we've had hundreds and hundreds of referrals. And at a minimum, we just ask the guys to follow their treatment plan, attend class, do the homework, be respectful to the teachers. And at the end of the day, hopefully, you know, they gain something out of the classes and they get to go home. He failed to do that.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Brown, you have 45 seconds to a minute to make a closing statement.
sir.
Would you like to make a brief closing statement?
Well, Mr. Rowe, you know, I understand what Mr. Jackson was saying, and I understand where you're coming from, but it's like nobody sees my point. You know, nobody sees my point. It's never having to address sobriety and addiction. You know, that's totally against what I believe in. And as a matter of fact, I never did drugs and alcohol because it's like I tell people, I treat me like I love me. I treat me and my body like I love me. Don't get me wrong. And that's a priority to me. So I don't know what these dudes go through when it comes to having a drink or most of the drugs they do, I never even seen. And what those dudes reminisce on in the dorm about getting high with, I never even seen them drugs. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know how to understand being addicted to something when I never had a desire to know how it feels. I don't understand that. I don't. You know, don't get me wrong, I understand, but domestic violence, I'm only in here for being in love with the woman that didn't love me back, like I thought she did. I didn't stalk nobody. I just wanted to talk after my wedding day was canceled. Stalking is defined as a repeated harassment by showing up at somebody's workforce or home. I only went to my fiance home one time. Out of 5.5 months, and I'm accused with stalking, I worked hard. I was in school with my arrest. I went to school, I went to work, I did my work.
Mr. Brown, would you wrap it up?
Mr. Roche, if I got a problem taking domestic substance abuse class, but if y'all gonna recommend me to take them, then I'm gonna complete it. But I'm supposed to only be here for domestic violence. And I was 2 weeks before graduation and they kicked me out of class. Non-compliance with medication, they don't even have a policy that says that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Is the panel ready to vote?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Mr. Brown.
Ma'am.
Now, until you made your closing statement, I might have been willing to say, well, having start over in domestic violence and complete the domestic violence program and delete the substance abuse. But then, you know, when you start getting into crime or stalking and the reason that you're in domestic violence, now you're telling us you didn't do that either. So it's like your perception of yourself and your conduct is out of line with the reality of the situation. I mean, I wasn't on that panel, so I don't know why you were ordered to go to substance abuse treatment. I don't know. I'm not on the panel. didn't hear it, but I've seen you today. And your presentation of yourself today is the thing that really influences me, because you just have this sense that you're smarter than everybody else, you're better than anybody else. I can tell you anything. You're not compliant with medication. So you haven't given me anything to work with you. I'm willing to try to work with you, but you've given me enough to work with. And so would this be a rescission? Okay, I'm just gonna vote that your parole be revoked.
Mr. Freeman,
Due to not following the special conditions added by the board, I vote to revoke.
now, based upon your removal from the Steve Hall program, giving 3 disciplinary write-ups, I'm gonna revoke the supervision. You have received 3 votes to revoke. Your supervision has been revoked. You have
Yeah. Hold on, Ms. Brown. Let's go.
There you have it. He's revoked. He has to serve the remainder of his sentence. I'm not sure how long that is. It could be 5 more years, 10 more years. It was for the armed robbery. And, you know, we know who was on the board before. It was, of course, Mr. Mirabello, who was ran a drug court for something like 20 years. And he loved sending people to DEVOC programs, drug and alcohol. But it wasn't actually, from my understanding, Mr. Mirabello that was the one that initiated that he go there. It was it was something that was court ordered even before Mr. Mirabello was there. So Miss Jackson, I think, hit it on the head. She was going to just say, you know what, we'll just strike it. You're saying you're not an addict, fine, but you definitely need this other programming. But then when you come out and you say, I wasn't doing anything wrong, I wasn't stalking her, the only thing I did, I am only here for being in love with the woman that didn't love me back. And if there is nothing creepier or scarier than hearing that, and he kind of said the same thing at the last hearing, he just couldn't wrap his mind around the idea that he had done anything wrong. He was engaged to her, she canceled the wedding, and all he wanted to do was talk to her. You know that that's not the truth. You know that he's in total denial. I mean, she put a restraining order on him. And, he said, all I wanted to do was talk. Do you guys remember that case of that, was it the rugby player who killed his girlfriend, and all he kept saying is, all I want to do is talk. All I want to do is talk with her. I think the board handled it great. They really, there are certain people you can't help. Last time, all he had to do to get free was complete the Steve Hoyle program. He refused to take his blood medication, which it came down to because he had to take 5 different medications, and it was $5 a pill, which was $25 a month, and they would suck it right out of his commissary money, and he's broke. He had no money to buy toothpaste or whatever, and that was the reason he didn't want to take his blood medication. But that was a choice he was making. He only had, I think, 3 weeks left, and he would have been free. So, it sucks, but, and I had ended my last hearing saying, man, I wish I could just send him like $25 to help him get through this so he can get toothpaste. But I'm not sure it would have made a difference. Again, they sent him back, but he got another chance. We saw it. He acknowledged it. He heard it. They said, you have to do the 2 things that you have to do, the 2 classes you have to complete, and you'd be free. That was on March 16th. It is a little less than 2 months ago. He would have been walking out a free man. But he's not, because he refused to take a program. Just sit in the class and pretend. And he said, well, I don't want to have that trail that, and Miss Jackson said, right, no one's going to go look into Steve Hoyle and see that you took an alcohol and drug program. Well, he's like, I don't want to be classified or whatever. And Miss Jackson said it best too on that. There's something, the only thing that I can say that is a little scary here is that, you know, maybe he has, you know, I think there's got to be clear signs. There's got to be some type of mental illness here. You know, I'm not sure he would succeed anywhere though. Like maybe he needs to be medicated on something, or maybe this is just it. But how can you be so defiant that against your own best interest, against your own freedom, you'll take months and years in prison? And that's, to me, it's actually, you know, this is just my opinion, but he's I think one of the scarier inmates that we've seen. And the reason I say that is, you know, you hear these stories about people going postal and people just losing it, and you shake your head and you say, it just doesn't make sense. It's crazy. Why did the guy go into the office and shoot up the place? Why did the guy go, you know, do the crazy things that they do? And it's scary to say it, but I think that this is the kind of mental illness that leads people to doing these things. He in his mind, he feels that the system is attacking him, that everyone is out to get him, that he is doing nothing wrong. In his own words, the only reason I am here is because I was in love with the woman who didn't love me back. All I wanted to do was talk to her. There is no insight into himself. There's no acknowledgement of what he's doing wrong, and there's no even self-preservation. It's like at his own expense. He says, I love myself, I love my body, I love me, I trust me, my body, and I love me. Why I wouldn't touch drugs? Well, for one, you weren't taking your blood medication, pressure medication. So, I mean, that was the last time why you were revoked. But I do believe that you love you, but I don't believe, you know, it's scary. That's just my takeaway from it. It wasn't, they weren't asking much. I mean, there's only so much that you can do for someone. As they say, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink. He did this to himself. And he's going to get out one day. If he doesn't get, you know, maybe he'll even get 1 million more write-ups and they'll keep extending the sentence. But I can't imagine he's going to be a bitter man when he gets out. Yep. I'm going to leave a link here, which is going to be playlists. We don't have a lot of them. We have, I think, 4 others of continuation hearings. But as each hearing goes by, we do end up getting more and more continuation hearings. If you like this style where I add it together, let me know in the comment section. If you would have preferred that I would have combined both, from beginning to end. So it'd been one long here. Like, let me know what you prefer so that I can improve as we go on. And with that, I'll let you go. Oh, and do like and subscribe, help the channel grow. It means a lot. It helps a lot. Bye.